Alright, so as I sit around freezing to death waiting for the sun to come out and it to warm up because it's only like 50 degrees outside, and that is like the Arctic to me now, I figured I'd take this time to go ahead and fix the remote on the L.L.Bean Forester. I've already made a video DIY on this. It's an extremely common issue on these teardrop remotes from, I believe, 2005 to 2009, 2010, somewhere in there. I think before they started putting the remote and key as a combination. But what the issue is, when you pull off the rubber skin, the lock and unlock button, the solder joints break and they come desoldered from the board. As you can see here, here's our let's see, top button is the lock button. So the lock button is completely come off of our circuit board, and it looks like the unlock button has broken 2 of its solder joints and sort of turned sideways. It has, so I'll put that back. So what I'm gonna do now is just resolder the buttons on the board so we can have our remote functioning again. Which already tested it, put the buttons on the board in the correct orientation, and the remote does work, and keyless entry does work. It was just the fact that the buttons had come loose, which, like I said, it's a common issue, happens on a lot of them. So really quickly try to knock this out. It's kind of aggravating to work on such tiny little solder joints, but it's not impossible. You have to work quite quickly so you don't fry anything on the board or melt any components though. It's nice to be able to resolder them when they're still partially attached, like that one was. It only had 2 of the 4 joints broken. The real tricky part is like on the lock button where the switch is completely broken off and you got to start over from scratch, getting all the pins aligned and flowing the joints. That said, the lock button is at the top of the board and doesn't have any components around it, so it is a little bit easier than the unlock button because there are a few resistors and a chip and everything else in close proximity to it. Let's see if we can get a better angle on this. Ah, great. I need my tweezers. Oops. Of course. Dadgummit. Tin the board, place the switch on top, and then try to quickly reflow the solder from the pad pieces that we just tinned. Yep, I think we got it. They seem good and stout on there. So put the remote back together now and go test the car. Make sure it's working. Let's see. Oh man, it's still windy and cold. Hate this weather. See if our remote works. I heard a door unlock. Hey, we got it fixed. Easy peasy. And day 2, we are back on the L.L.Bean Forester. Just went and drove it for about 12 miles. Did really good, didn't have any issues out of it, no overheating, anything. AC blew cool. Only issue I had was wind noise, but that is to be expected. It is the window gussets here, notorious issue for lots of wind noise on these cars. Finally got it up in the air, got the jack stands under it, been around the back, and didn't see any issues in the rear other than the sway bar end links. Checked the rear diff fluid, it was just a hair low, topped it up. So now we'll look underneath the front, see if we find anything. So both of the lower ball joint boots are busted. I have not got my pry bar out yet to see if the ball joints themselves are bad. Have the orange canister of death on here. We've got a neglected oil cooler leak, been leaking for quite a while. From the looks of it, we've got a head gasket, external head gasket leak as well. Looks to be just oil. Hard to tell though between all the oil from the oil cooler and the bad rocker cover gaskets. The oil pump and oil pan are relatively dry in the front. We've got a bunch of accumulation back here. So not sure if the rear main seal or oil air separator plate are leaking or what the deal is there. I'll have to get my borescope and try to slide it up in there and see what's up. Got some dry coolant here on the bottom of the lower radiator hose and a little bit of crustiness around this thermostat housing. Don't know if that's been leaking or what the deal is there. Again, we've got some oily buildup between the head and block. These are original factory head gaskets on this engine. They are the single layer coated gasket. They're not the new triple layer multi-steel or 4-layer. I can't remember now. They're 3 or 4-layer. I get confused between the single overhead cam, dual overhead cam revision head gaskets. Looks like we had a failure of a hose clamp here at the transmission cooler. That's a non-factory clamp. That is a factory clamp on this side. Yep, some bumpkin was working on this thing because as you see on the oil pan, it's been labeled oil, just like the transmission pan was labeled transmission. So yeah, someone that didn't have no business working on one was working on one. What else we got? There's some accumulation on the power steering rack, but I'm not sure if that is just the leakage from everything here blowing back on the rack or if it's actual leak from the power steering rack. See a little bit just on this side, but there's a large amount of oil here, so it's not out of the realm of reason that it could just be dripping down, and as the air is moving under the car, it's been pushing it back and hitting that. We've got a lot of buildup on the heat shield underneath the drive. Man, I cannot talk or think right now. Under the prop shaft,
the heat shield between the prop shaft and the exhaust has got a bunch of oil accumulation on it. The bottom of the pan has some residue on it, but it's not dripping or super wet. I'm probably going to drop the pan anyway, clean the strainer out, put the new Subaru transmission filter on it, change the fluid. I'm about to change the front differential gear oil because it is very dark. Doesn't look like it's been serviced in quite a while. What else? Super clean under here, no rust at all. Even the exhaust is in really good shape. All of the heat shields are still in place. There is one clamp down there. One got loose, I assume. Like I said, no issues in the rear. We do have busted end links on the sway bar in the front as well as the back. What else we got? We've got a power steering leak. Let me get turned around so I can put the GoPro. From the suction hose, it is leaking at the bottom of the reservoir, dripping down the frame rail here and accumulating down here. So probably gonna put a hose on it. That's cheap enough. I'm not sure if I'm gonna put head gaskets on this car or not before I sell it. Like I said, it's not overheating. It's not a real dire issue. It's just leaking oil, it seems. I'll do a block test, 100%, 1000% confirmed, but didn't see any air in the radiator or the cooling system by doing the cylinder leak down test, and the only air I heard escaping was in the crankcase due to the rings, which 213,000 miles isn't out of the ordinary. So gonna do some more looking around. Like I said, I'm probably just gonna go ahead and start servicing this front differential, so might as well set the camera up and let y'all watch. All right, got our big beefy T70 socket, which I think 05 was the first year that Subaru switched over to the T70. I believe prior to that it was like a 22 or 23 mil normal socket. Kind of at an awkward angle here with the camera. Let's see if I can get this broke loose. There we go. Let's see if I can get it in the pan without getting it on the camera myself. Oh God, all over the camera. But yeah, that is some super dark gear oil. It doesn't look like it's ever been serviced. And now my tripod and GoPro is covered in old crappy smelly gear oil. Awesome. Yeah, I don't have a new seal washer for the drain plug, but I've reused them on several occasions without issue. They normally seal right back up. And like I said, I don't think this has ever been taken off, so it should be good. I'm looking at the plug. We have near no metal on the magnet, which is a great thing, of course. So I don't believe we got any issues with the front diff. Gonna slip this drain out, stick the plug back in, torque it down, and then we'll go top side and pour some brand new gear oil in it. Yep, that is horrible. I think that's the darkest gear oil I have ever seen. It is just about black, and it should be just slightly brown tinted, but almost clear as water. So yeah, way past due for that. So now that we got the drain plug back in and tightened down, of course, like every other Subaru automatic transmission, our little yellow dipstick down here past the throttle body is where we put our funnel in to refill our gear oil. All right, time to fill it up. Spec is 1.3 to 1.4 US quarts. As you can see, nice and clear. The new gear oil compared to that black old gear oil we pulled out of this thing. And we are using 7590. Which is what Subaru recommends for basically all temperature ranges. That should be close there. Yep, 7590. Always check your gear oil level while the car is parked on a level surface. And I've got the front and back basically the same height on the jack stand, so we should be good to get an accurate reading of the gear oil level. The funnel out of there without dripping and making a mess. Well, let's see where we're at on the dipstick. And probably gonna be hard to tell because it's so clean and clear, but we are right there at the full mark. So good to go. And you technically don't have to take off the air box like I did. I just take it off so you got a better line of sight to what I'm doing here, and I can put the camera right here. Okay, so off camera I checked the ball joints in the front. They are fine, just the boots are torn. There's no play in the joints. Didn't feel any play in the tie rods. Didn't notice any wheel bearing noise when I was driving the car. We topped up the rear diff, changed the gear oil in the front diff. Took the blue canister DEF oil filter off and threw a blue canister Subaru Fram on there. I don't know why. I guess it made me feel better. I had two more in stock, so I just wanted to use up the last ones I got, I guess. And yeah, what else? So pretty much the list I had initially on this car, which I don't know if I've shown on camera or not. I'll take a picture and show it. That the plan basically was set of spark plugs, timing belt, water pump, kit, rocker cover gaskets, and flush brake fluid, change transmission fluid, service that with the new Subaru transmission filter, get rid of the Fram one. Already serviced the front differential. The oil was not bad, not really worried about it. It's still pretty clear. So before the timing belt failed, they must have had the oil changed pretty close to the time of the failure. There seems to be, I ran the borescope up around the back of the engine. Looks like it's just the back of the oil pan leaking, not the rear main or oil air separator leaking down. I may reseal the oil pan, not sure. And the external head gasket leak has been going on for quite a while. Looks like someone tried to gum RTV, just smear it with their finger between the cylinder head and the block, which that does not work. Futile attempt. But I might just go ahead and slap a set of head gaskets on this thing before I sell it, just to make myself feel better and not have to worry about someone bringing back a car angry. And other than that, not sure what else other than detail and pull those dents out. We'll cover that in another video. But I think we'll wrap it up here today. Probably gonna go drive it a little more, see if it gives any issues. No check engine light or anything thus far. Like I said, the only real issue was the wind noise from the window gussets. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.